Hello and welcome back. This is part 3 of our V6 MR2 Supercharged project. First, we will remove the fuel rails and injectors. I cleaned up the fuel injectors by setting up a separate fuel system. For this, I used an extra lower intake manifold that I have laying around. A fuel cell, fuel rails, injector, and a fuel pressure regulator. Add injector cleaner to the fuel cell. In a well-ventilated area, apply 12 volts to the injectors at 50 psi until the spray pattern looks good. Unfortunately, I lost most of the footage, but here's the setup. Next, prep the lower intake for the injectors and install our clean injectors with new O-rings and fuel rails. In the previous swap, I had a different fuel setup, but for this MR2 I'm going to install Lexus fuel rails with a cross pipe. Torque it all down and test the supercharger for clearance. The supercharger fits just right. Here's a couple pictures of how I installed the AN fittings to the fuel rails. Next, we're going to work on the wiring harness. On my last project, I built a complete new engine harness that took weeks. This time around, I'm going to refurbish this harness. I started by removing the cracked, dried up wrap, reinforced some of the connectors, inspected the wires that were exposed, installed new wire wrap along with high temperature electrical tape, carefully cut the old tape to prevent damage to the wiring. After a couple hours, this is the finished product. Installing harness. First, install the air assist hose for the injectors. Lay harness on top and connect the injectors. We will be using the OEM screws that hold the harness along with 1/2 inch stainless steel clamps. Peel the protective tape and clean the surface. Install new gasket and install supercharger. Next, I'll be moving the rest of the wiring harness towards the front, since that's where I'm going to mount the ECU. Install the coil packs, install the 2 brackets on the back of the supercharger, install the spark plug wires and route them towards the front. Connect the coil pack, plug the connector for the NOx sensors and the TPS. Well friends, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. See you all next time.